that would like try to shovel despite
Yes.
like
100%.
despite not being in good health.
Yes, 100%. He doesn't want to rely on anybody else.
Some people may not like it, but I appreciate, like we said it yesterday, the boomers definitely had their drawback, you know, the bad and the good. My dad was a boomer. Yours was.
They got the work ethic, though, that's for sure.
What's that?
They got the work ethic, that's for sure.
That's what I was going to say. Like, my pops was getting up at 3 a.m. every day, going to work, getting done so he could make my hockey game, like, you know, so he could make it.
Oh, yeah, same.
It's that type of stuff. And
put in the full day of work to coach 11-year-olds play Little League.
Yeah, man. Yeah, if nothing else, they had work ethic for sure.
Yeah.
At least
I didn't get that. Didn't inherit that shit at all. Not for hard work.
Oh yeah, that type of work.
I got a work ethic for this, which is, you know, not the same as like I got to be at the mill for 14 hours today.
Dude, the worst job in the world to me would be like, okay, so manual labor, there's no doubt that it takes a true physical toll on you, right? Like big time physical toll. I got a lot of buddies who are not even 40 yet, and you can just see it in the way they walk and the way that, like, it's a hard toll. It's a tough life. There is no job that I would rather do less in my life. I'd rather be out on a crab fishing boat. I'd rather be, you know, than a stay-at-home dad.
I hear you.
I could never.
You should try having cooler kids.
Oh, dude, my daughter's cool as shit. But I'm saying that, okay, you know, maybe, and also, you know what, this is probably an unfair response for me because I'm thinking of it having a 2-year-old and a newborn.
Yeah.
And like I'll tell you what, the mental and like emotional toll that can take on you every day is nuts.
Yeah, but if you had one kid and they turned 7, then being that stay-at-home dad is
that's what I'm saying. So I should preface it with like I should preface it with early years stay-at-home dad sounds like the worst experience ever.
Yeah, agreed.
By the way,
that's that Bill Burr bit. He's like, yeah, it must be really tough putting those DVDs into the DVD player.
In today's edition of Questionable Parenting, welcome to the Stochastic NBA Strategy Show, by the way. Happy to have you guys with us. So my daughter will be 3 in like 3 weeks, and she's been a pain in the ass with brushing her teeth.
Okay.
So I Google image search meth mouth. And
it's like a little brushing your teeth scared straight for her.
Held the phone up and go, this is what your teeth are going to look like. She goes, oh, disgusting. Did not like that. But now every time after she brushes her teeth, she goes, Daddy, can I see the dirty teeth? She sees, she goes like this and then goes like this. She's like, ah. So she wants
to print one out.
But she knows. I said, well, let me see your, oh, they're clean. You're good to go. But clearly a questionable technique, but I don't know what I'm doing. And it worked.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's perfect. You didn't have those sorts of resources. What were you going to do? Go grab the encyclopedia off your shelf when we were kids so they could show you the inside of that mouth?
Right, exactly. Yeah. I tried many different techniques. And once I finally showed her just fully rotted out mouths with black gums, she's like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll brush my teeth. How you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling all right. Good enough. I'm ready to hit you with what I told you I wanted to hit you with today. Yeah. I said I had a question for you.
We can do it. We're getting a lot of snow right now, so I'll have to go handle that afterwards. I don't mind it. I throw on the AirPods and just rock. You know,
it's a much. We had this conversation before. It's a much better experience than it was when I was 20 and you had to put like a Discman in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The AirPods, solid, dude. Very solid.
That changes the game. And it's way easier to dress warm now. Like warm clothes are better than they used to be. So it's not so bad.
So here's what we'll do. We got 6 games to touch on. By the way, a lot of low totals today.
Yeah.
8 of these teams playing today are on the front end of a back-to-back. 8 of them, front end of a back-to-back. I think only 1 or 2 are playing the back end. Bucks
Milwaukee, Minnesota.
Yeah. Yep, Milwaukee, Minnesota. But 8 on the front end. That's significant because we have 13 games tomorrow.
Yeah, big one.
let's get
Not
into
playing
some.
that shit. That's for sure.
We're getting into some basketball first, and then you can hit me with these. I want to space this show out a little bit and make it. You can hit me with this in a little bit. Keep it in the
That's fine.
keep it holstered.
I got nowhere to be.
All right. By the way, dude, Halliburton did play over 34 minutes last night. I texted you and stunk. Like,
Yeah.
nothing worse than nailing the minutes, and then he just shoots 5 for 15 and has 13 points against the Hornets, in which they lose outright.
Just truly ridiculous.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Like if
when I saw it, I was just like, oh.
Yeah. If I told you he was locked for 34 minutes, or if I told you, like, look, I'm playing this game, I'm gambling on this one. And I'm like, yo, he got 34 minutes and 10 seconds. You'd be like, awesome.
Yeah, you getting the minutes right and then getting like the 15th percentile outcome is
against the Hornets.
Infuriating.
Yeah. Not against the Timberwolves, against the Hornets.
Yeah. Very little is more irritating than when you get it right, but you get it wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Same thing with football, where it's like you nail the snap counts or the carries, like the work.
And the guy gets tackled at the 1.
And they average -1 yard per carry. Yeah, those type of games are rough.
Or like your dude gets tackled twice, and then it's instead of DeAndre Swift getting the touchdown, it's Montgomery. Or I'm just inserting old people that used to piss me off. Those guys aren't on the same team anymore, but you know the drill.
They were never on the same team.
Who am I thinking? Who was
DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
But that's right. Yes, exactly. DeAndre Swift down.
Everybody that I named is a vulture in their own right. For some teams, correct. I'm just putting them on the same team.
But you'll take that. Like you'll take that. You're vindicated in that. Like, okay, your thought process wasn't crazy, but you talked about it. You're like, you'd rather be early than late. Sure. Yep. But now what sucks is he plays for 34 minutes. So next game, everyone's like, nobody lost on not playing Halliburton. That's the shitty part.
No, there goes being early.
Yeah. But they lost outright. Victor Wembanyama had a points, rebounds, blocks, triple-double. He had 24 points and 24 DK points in stocks.
He was 3 steals away from like a really insane 5x5.
Yeah. Dude, insane. And the Sixers won outright against the Cavs team that had won like 17 of their last 18 games. Buddy Hield fouled out on a terrible play on an inbound where he turned it over. They were up 10 with like a minute to go and almost lost. But dude, his impact was felt yesterday. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Buddy Hield's impact was felt. Without him, they get crushed.
I am very anxious to see, like, I really wish Embiid was just healthy.
I know. If they can just hold on to like the 6th seed and get Embiid back.
I don't think it matters. I can't, even when he comes back, like, this is a dude that isn't really ever in the correct shape without being able to play for a long stretch. He's going to be in horrific shape.
You're right. And it sucks because he was having a remarkable season.
Yeah.
Like as good a season as you could ever have. And then it's over. But why would you bring Buddy Hield in unless you think that he can come back?
Contracts and stuff.
Yeah, I know. I guess.
That kind of shit.
I had a question for you. I was talking to a few buddies yesterday. I figured Josh would be the best one to answer this question, right? So
that's probably true.
Listen. Well, from a contract standpoint, you're my go-to guy on all this. Okay. So next year, let's say Embiid's still there. Let's say they keep Buddy Hield. Do you think, because Paul George is a free agent, you have like, the wings I'm thinking of are Paul George. Siakam's not a wing, but you could throw him at the 4 because they have to get rid of Harris, right? Like I can't imagine they keep Tobias Harris.
Maybe.
Let's say they don't. OG Anunoby's out. OG Anunoby's out there as well. Right. Do you think Paul George is a feasible fit for that team?
If they can sign Paul George, that's their goal.
Okay, right. Like that would be the
number one priority is in Daryl. I would imagine in Daryl Morey's mind right now, the number one priority is to sign Paul George if they can.
And Paul George isn't the best at like knifing to the basket and that type of stuff. But here's the thing. You don't need that when you have Maxey, who's good at getting to the rim, and Joel Embiid, who you can just feed the ball down low and who can score from anywhere. And if you had another outside guy, just say, buddy, like that would by far be the best team that Embiid's ever played on, and it's not even remotely close.
No, you'd be looking at Maxey, Melton, Paul George, probably Nick Batum in theory, and Embiid.
Yeah, healed too, I was saying, if they kept healed.
Sure. Well, I don't think he would start in and close in those situations.
You
I
think
think
Hield
they
would
would
be
have
the
Melton.
sixth?
I think it would be Melton first over Healed.
Hield's your sixth man? Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean
All right.
that is unequivocally their goal. I don't. The only way that that is possible is if something bad happens to the Clippers. Paul George is not going to leave LA if this season goes well for the Clippers. OG's not going anywhere. He's going to be in New York. Siakam's not going anywhere. He's going to be in Indiana. They don't really have any other options. They got to trade for someone, not sign someone.
For sure. For sure. Anyway, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Boston, Brooklyn. All right. Boston, 8.5-point favorite. 228 total. Porzingis questionable. So that's a piece of news that we'll have to work with a little bit here. I mentioned it earlier, but there are some low total games. There's no doubt. Like there are a lot of teams and games where, in many cases, if it was on a better slate, we might not even be talking about them. But we're going to work through all 6 of these, and we'll do the best we can to get you guys in and out with the best information possible. So the Boston Celtics today, assuming Porzingis is in, you've got 14% going to Jason Tatum. Then it's just pretty much spread out, single-digit ownership for these guys. It's been a tougher time getting to them. Like Brown 7,700, Porzingis is 7,800, Holiday 6,200, but playing alongside Porzingis, Brown, Tatum hasn't exactly provided him with night in and night out upside this season. It's a kind of a weird team to target, especially in, not that I have to say it's the worst matchup ever, but it's not a super high total in Brooklyn either.
No, I have very little here. Tatum is definitely the guy that I think looks the best, and I think that's why we're seeing the ownership come in like that. We're going to be in that 1.3 to 1.4 fantasy point per minute range. Obviously, if Porzingis ends up out, you get an incremental bump to the rest of the starters, but our optimal rates, honestly, probably like these guys a little bit more than I do. We're around 10 for Tatum, 11 for Jaylen Brown. We've got Derek White at 14. 9 for Drew. Loughran is probably Porzingis at 6. I think, they're all like 5 to 10 percenters. It's the same situation we get for Boston very regularly, where Tatum generally looks the best because he has the highest ceiling of anybody on the team. And then you're totally happy to get to any one of those 32-minute a game to 35-minute a game starters. But it's so hard for any of them to look like a priority when everybody is in, because there's just, you have to you're thinning these guys out. Like, it's great for Boston as a team. It's not great for Boston's individual stats, or at least for feeling good about getting to any one guy. I have one share of Jason Tatum for Boston right now, and that is it.
You also, despite only having 6 games, you have SGA, you have Anthony Davis against Detroit. We'll see. Him and LeBron are questionable, whatever that means. But it is the front end of a back-to-back, and they've got the Jazz on the road in Utah tomorrow. So maybe you see something here. I don't know. That could change a lot. That's a late game, both late games, both 10 and 10:30 games. Sorry, 3 late games, 3 10 o'clock games on the slate tonight. Only 2 7:30s and 1 8. You have Sabonis against Phoenix, Durant and Booker against Sacramento, LeBron James against Detroit, Tatum. So that's it. I don't know if do any of them stand out to you as like, this is the by far best pay up option on the slate.
For me, yeah. I've got Giannis in half of my stuff right now. So I am getting to a boatload of Giannis Antetokounmpo. We'll see if that holds. We only have him for 6% ownership too. Like, if Sabonis is 20% owned and Giannis is 6, I'm going to figure out a way to get to Giannis in the large field contest. I don't even know how you feel comfortable going to Sabonis over AD, and he's projected for twice as much ownership. Like, those guys are basically the exact same dude as far as I'm concerned. Not that like Sabonis doesn't look good, but if he's already 20% owned, just give me one of the other guys around him.
It's amazing how much ownership is going to be concentrated around the Miami Heat tonight.
that team, they're missing everything.
Yeah. we have, if you look at our ownership projections right now, it's all Heat at the top.
Yeah,
All
it's
Heat.
they're missing a lot of bodies, and most of them are the ones that are able to dribble.
Yeah. And then you've got the Brooklyn Nets on the other side of this Boston game. 9.7% going to Mikal Bridges. Dennis Schroeder getting 6%. Look, it's not a good matchup.
No,
Miles Bridges is, I think you could say, reasonably priced, but I I'm at a loss on how you prioritize the Brooklyn Nets today. Pretty much anywhere, even with Bridges, I think it's a totally reasonable price point. I don't think it's a bad spot. If it's a close game, you know he's going to play a lot of minutes. He's a high usage wing, shooting guard, small forward eligibility, but he's not exactly loading peripherals on you. He's the
no.
type of guy that, you know, if you were to get 43 here, you'd probably, I don't know. I think it's a tough time getting Bridges, you know, to like a 50 plus fantasy point game, particularly in this matchup.
I've got 22% of Mikal Bridges at 10% ownership. He is a
Wow.
bit of a GPP option for me. We have him pretty positively leveraged, 15% optimal, 10% ownership. It's just one of those situations where 6 game slate, so relatively limited in choices. His price is reasonable at 7,400. He's a fantasy point per minute dude, basically in every sort of situation, 1.03 over the past 30 days. And you get that guard forward eligibility. He's the type of guy that I think I would have less of as the day goes on, potentially, depending on how everything breaks. But he fits really well right now because you can move him around. The price isn't so high that you are blocking other things out. He kind of just fits perfectly for what this slate looks like right now. After that, it's pretty dreadful to me. Like, we have the positive leverage on Schroeder. I don't have a great feel for like what his playing time and role is going to be for this team just yet, but I get it. He's the second most owned guy from Brooklyn at around 6%, but only Bridges gets double digit ownership. Only Bridges gets double digit optimal rate. I do agree with that one. He is the guy I'm getting. Have a couple shares of Cam Thomas, 1 or 2 shares of Nick Claxton. It's really, to me, Bridges or bust.
And it's tough because Ben Simmons has been a real quality per minute producer since he returned to the lineup. You haven't seen him play more than 22 minutes. And would I be shocked if he played 24 today? No, but they're clearly working him back slowly.
Yeah.
And every time he's back out again. So, I mean, hell, dude, Ben Simmons at 4,600. Give me Ben Simmons at 4,600 and give me 22 minutes. I can handle that all day long. He's almost 6K though. I just don't see how you
Yeah.
can make any argument for playing him, despite how good he's been on a per minute basis.
Yeah, 1.45 over the past 30 days, but he's just
very
not going to be
good.
out there enough. Essentially, he and Dennis Schroeder were direct subs for each other. Schroeder played 26 minutes. Ben Simmons played 22. Every time Ben Simmons came off the floor, Schroeder went in.
Yeah.
Like, you get it from like a certain dynamic, but that is a very different player.
Yeah, from Ben Simmons to Schroeder.
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
inverses of each other.
But to be fair, given the position that Simmons is playing and starting at, almost
Yeah.
anybody is going to be different than him.
And they just keep running Simmons out for that first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter start it rotation. And then they went the opposite way with Schroeder, where it was just like close the first, close the second, close the third, close the fourth.
I'll tell you what, dude, this is different than Halliburton because I think Halliburton was far more alive to play those additional minutes, just given that he'd already played 30 since returning.
Yeah.
The day that Ben Simmons just comes in and plays 29 minutes at 5,900.
Well, 60 fantasy points. Then everybody will go to him the next game and he'll have 3, 4, and 1 in 18 minutes, and everybody's going to want to kill him.
And leave it at halftime with back tightness. Yeah, that's what'll happen.
Yeah.
He'll have 60 fantasy points with 5 real points. It's just the way it is. OKC in Orlando, 223.5 total. Josh, there's also a 222.5. There's a 215 that we'll get to.
Yeah. There's a couple gross ones.
There's 2 monster totals, both of them in late games. But we got to get to this one first. Thunder and Orlando. So Thunder are 3-point road favorites. Orlando is just one of those teams, though, that, you know, they don't make for the best matchup specifically. They play pretty slow in pace. Defensively, they've been very good. NBA Stats has them with the 4th best defensive rating on the season. And SGA is the highest priced player on the slate behind Giannis Antetokounmpo. So how do you look at somebody like SGA and prioritize him across the rest of the field?
I would like to, but I think he just kind of looks like everybody else does at the top. Whether that's AD, Sabonis, Durant, Booker, LeBron, Tatum. Like I don't see much of a difference here from these guys, at least not yet. We do have him 15% optimal, 11% owned, so a little bit of positive leverage. I'm getting so much Giannis that it's really blocking me from everybody else in this current moment. What that looks like later, we'll see. I think SGA is really the only thing that you're going to get to with any sort of volume if you're trying to go to Oklahoma City. You've got Jalen Williams, 8% optimal, 6% owned. That's the high mark for anybody other than SGA. So not a lot of love coming in here. Orlando plays slow. They're good defensively. This is like a pretty bad spot for the Thunder from a DFS perspective, especially when you have everybody in. Like these are their normal 5 starters. We don't have a lot of wiggle room for anything else. You can play any one of their starters. I think SGA is the only one you try to play.
Man, the Orlando Magic, we have Jonathan Isaac getting a lot of ownership right now. He's coming off a 25-minute performance off the bench.
Yeah.
However, 5 of those minutes were in overtime.
They were.
So he played 20 minutes in regulation.
Yeah. That ended up being a very weird game too.
Against Chicago.
Yeah, Markelle Fultz, Wendell Carter Jr., and Jalen Suggs came out at the end in their rotation in the third quarter. All 3 of them never saw the floor again. Well, to be clear, Suggs got like 30 seconds at the end of overtime, but like they all were done. They didn't see the floor in the fourth quarter or basically all of overtime. They closed all over the place, and then they brought Goga in, and Goga played the final 14 minutes of the game, including OT. None of it made sense.
Goga Bitadze, Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, Banchero, and Franz Wagner.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so they went on a run. They were getting beat. They went on a 16-4 run in the fourth quarter with all those guys on, and they just let them ride it. Which it makes sense when you look at it like that, but you don't expect that every day.
Down 11, and then they took like a 4 or 5 point lead before they went into overtime. Yeah, so I don't know. We've got a lot of ownership going to Isaac, to Franz Wagner, to Cole Anthony. Banchero's getting some. Suggs is getting some. The Isaac one is the difficult one for me, and I know a lot of this is just lack of value, but when it comes to someone like Franz Wagner, that makes sense. 7,100, but the guy plays big minutes in competitive games. He's a really solid player overall. Well north of a fantasy point per minute. Banchero being another guy, 8,200. So he's definitely more expensive, but he's also going to play 35 plus in a competitive spot. It's the cheap ones here that are a little bit scary to me.
I'm over the field on everybody on Orlando except for John Isaac.
Right. I figured that would be the case.
Yeah, he's and like 3,400 for him, power forward center, 0.95 fantasy point per minute guy for about 18 minutes. Like that value's there. I have 18%. He is a good point per dollar play. He is they have 5 guys in the teens for optimal rate. He is one of them. The guy that I like the most here for Orlando is Suggs. If he's playing 28 minutes a night, we have him with the most positive leverage in the boom bust tool. 19% optimal, 12% owned. Right now, I have 46% of him. He seems to be like the most underrepresented dude to me. That'll come down for me when I think his ownership comes up a little bit. He hasn't been good lately. 0.77 DraftKings points per minute over the past month. I project this a little bit better, and you do get the pace up spot for Orlando. While OKC has basically the same defense as the Magic, they're 8th in pace in comparison to Orlando's 23rd. But that's not even where, like, I've got 32% of Franz, who's 24% owned. I have 24% of Cole Anthony at 3,500 today. He's 19% owned. I'm dead neutral with the field on Paolo. I've got 12% of a 5% owned Wendell Carter Jr. Like, I'm getting to these dudes. I've got 150% aggregate exposure to Orlando. They've got 100. So I'm 50% higher than the field on Orlando in general. Lots of pieces here to like, even in a bad spot.
Agreed. The only thing I keep coming back to on Isaac is that you're talking about a guy who, yes, he's coming off a solid game, but he had 5 minutes in overtime, and as you pointed out, definitely an odd game. Okay, very odd game,
Yeah.
where you can't project him for 25 minutes. I mean, if you're even projecting him for 20 minutes is like that's the high end of any minutes projection on Jonathan
It
Isaac.
is. It is. It
If
is.
you look at per minute production, he's had, and this is just like, dude, this is the most basic type of analysis here, but bear with me. Outside of that last game where he played in overtime, dude hasn't had north of 20 fantasy points since November. And I know he missed some time, but you're going back like 25 games
Yeah.
since he's had a game north of 20. So, like, if he really
He's due.
if he really were to come in with a quarter of the field having ownership to this guy, it feels unlikely that he kills you, is what I'm saying, if you don't have him.
Yeah. You just need so little from him. I've got his target right now at 26.
Sure. No. I get that. But even that is what I'm saying. Like, even 26 has been essentially unattainable for him.
Yeah, you're hoping that he gets one of those games that he saw like 2 weeks ago. He got 22 minutes on the 26th. He got 23 minutes on the 28th. Like, if he can sneak a couple extras in regulation,
Absolutely.
that's where you start to be able to like squeeze that down a bit.
Yeah, I don't care about fantasy production there if you're telling me like he can get 23 minutes.
Yeah.
But
But that's also not necessarily a guarantee. I think he fits this matchup pretty well.
sure. Look, I don't think he's a bad play. All I'm saying is 25% seems like a lot for a guy that is a sub 1 fantasy point per minute guy who very likely plays 18 to 20 minutes.
I agree.
Anybody else for Orlando?
I don't think so. I got a couple shares of Fultz. He's 4,500. Minutes are not appealing right now, but I guess they could be. If he gets up to that like 24 range, it's not that hard for him to pay off 4,500. But I think everybody else that we mentioned, for me, it's Suggs, Franz Wagner, Cole Anthony, Paolo. Like, I want to get to those guys first.
All right. A couple things here. One, we had a $10 super chat from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Morning, guys, and happy birthday, Josh. Find a way to get this $10, and get yourself some Zyn. I do a can of 6 milligrams spearmint per day. Is that a lot?
Oh my God, that's a lot to me. I mean, that's a lot to me. Yeah, and John. All right, now I see Jordan. Yeah, that's
so.
God damn.
Obviously, I don't do Zyn. I was a smoker. I have made some transitions over the past couple of years.
You are still a smoker. I'm
not. It's probably worse. Anyway, do these Zyns, are they just like pouches?
Yeah.
Okay. How many pouches come in a can?
15.
So he's doing, and how many milligrams of nicotine is in yours?
I use 3s, but I'm about to graduate to high school.
You're gonna crank it up?
Yeah.
I got to stop with the vape, but I've been on 3 forever. I'll never go any higher than that.
You press it right against the tip of the beehole, squeeze those cheeks, man. That nicotine gets in your system like you wouldn't believe.
Good. You're gonna start using these like fentanyl patches.
I mean, if I could buy one from a hospital, I would in a heartbeat.
So I assume 15 6 milligram spearmint pouches a day is a decent amount.
I do like 5 3 milligrams.
Okay. Anyway,
so he's doing 3 times as many pouches and twice as much in terms of milligrams. So
Andrew recommends never using the coffee one. It's disgusting. And he said, Laffy, I started when I was 41. Oh, yeah, you guys are wild starting this stuff so late in life. But I guess, you know what? Life's many small pleasures. This is one of them, and you got to enjoy it when you can. Plus, nicotine.
By the way, but 39 is the new 29, though. Like with medicine, I feel better than ever.
Nicotine's not even bad for you. It's just,
sure isn't
how you get it.
Sure isn't.
It is bad. Anyway, one more question we had from where the hell is it? Oh yeah, from Andrew. Good morning, guys. Any advice on the lineup generator? There are many lineups to choose from, so maybe I'm doing something wrong as I haven't done well thus far. I usually play 1 to 3 lineups per contest. How would you recommend someone using the lineup generator for someone playing 1 to 3 contests?
I wouldn't get bogged down on short-term results. Like it could be nothing. That's sort of where we're at here. Um, Try to like so much depends on what contest you're entering to. You know, if you're making a lineup for the large field lottery in comparison to like a small field single entry, that's going to change up what you're looking for there, where you might be willing to take a bigger shot on a random like last dude in comparison to that smaller field where you don't have to take those sorts of unnecessary risks. It's hard to really answer without knowing a little bit more about what those contests are and what the real expectations are. But it's kind of there's not a lot to add in terms of like theory of using the lineup generator. It's giving you really good lineups right out of the gate. If there's ever pieces that you don't feel great about, then click discard and let that next one pop up and see if you feel a little bit better about that next one. But like in terms of strategy for it, it's hard to say anything concrete because the contest is going to really matter.
For sure. But also, being able to look at the optimal projection and ownership and finding one that's projecting really well but isn't super chalky, that's a big aspect of all of this as well. And you can
It certainly is.
Yeah. But look, the tool's crushing for a lot of people, and I think Josh is right. Don't take small sample size into like, especially if you're only playing 1 to 3 lineups a night. You just keep doing it's building lineups for you that are good lineups with our ranking system. There's no doubt about it. We're throwing out all the bad ones. So yeah, Miami and Milwaukee. Here we go. The Miami Heat are going to be very, very, very popular today, without question. There's no Jimmy Butler. There's no Terry Rozier. There's no Josh Richardson. We have Duncan Robinson in, and we have him projected for the highest ownership of any player on the slate. But he is, in fact, questionable for this game.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that one as well, because literally the highest owned player on the slate could potentially be out today. But look, now you're taking Jimmy Butler off the floor. You're taking Josh Richardson off the floor, which immediately right there is a huge deal. Josh Richardson in and of himself, Josh, isn't that big of a deal. Take him off the floor with Jimmy Butler and with Terry Rozier. And now it's just opening absolutely everything up. And the thing that jumps off the page to me, I'm sure you would have said the same thing. Despite all of this and us knowing this yesterday afternoon, I told you, we knew all the news we got yesterday morning and afternoon was for this slate.
Yeah.
These prices have barely adjusted, if at all, to account for the absences in Miami.
They are problematic today. Clearly the team with the most ownership. It's not close. They have 200% in the aggregate. Orlando is second at 106. They're twice as owned as the Magic. And I have no disagreements with that at all. I have 260, so I'm over the field on all of these guys. Don't forget, it's also no Kyle Lowry. That's another ball hand. Like, even if you don't have Rozier, like Lowry was the previous Rozier, and he's not there either.
Good call.
So you've got 6 guys, 20% owned or more. Caleb Martin, Jaime Jaquez, Bam Adebayo, Kevin Love, Caleb Martin. Wait, damn, I shouldn't have done that in the order that I did it. Bam, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez, Kevin Love, and Tyler Hero. We have Duncan Robinson pretty negatively leveraged, although he's 37% optimal. So take that with a grain of salt. Similar for Tyler Hero, who is also over 30% optimal. Assuming Duncan Robinson is in, he is the best option here. 4,200 shooting guard, small forward. You assume he's stepping into a starting role, playing like 32 minutes. They just don't have enough guards. I have 68% of Robinson. I'm over the field. I think the next guy that you're prioritizing for this team is probably going to be $6,900 Tyler Hero, the guy with the second highest optimal rate. I have 66% of Tyler Hero. He's 40% owned. 1.1 fantasy points per minute in the spot. Remember, Milwaukee defense, not all that great. Pace, a lot faster than the Miami Heat play. I've got 20% of Bam at 8,300, although I do have his under on Prize Picks today. So we are going to be cheering against that one a bit. By the way, back to back to back. I'm too good at this. Caleb Martin at 5K, power forward only. I've got 30%. He's 20%. Back in the starting lineup, playing 34 minutes a night, unavoidable. Jaime Jaquez, I don't really trust his minutes. I think he's going to be in and around 30. Certainly could play more. I just don't know if they're going to do it. But small forward, power forward, 4,500 has not been good as of late. 0.7 fantasy points per minute. I think you got to project him a little bit higher given all these ball handlers are out. I have 54% of Jaime Jaquez. He is my third most exposed Miami Heat player. Only guy that I am I don't even want to say significantly under on, but I only have 22% of the $3,600 Kevin Love. He's 32% owned. Center only is really limiting. So I would imagine he's the easiest guy to get away from Miami right now. But those 6 dudes pulling the ownership, they deserve that ownership.
They do. Listen, with Butler, Rozier, and Lowry off the floor this year, there's actually a decent amount of minutes that have been played. Bam Adebayo 1.21 DraftKings points per minute. Kevin Love 1.17. Not bad.
No.
Tyler Hero 1.07. You look at usage rates for these guys, 26% Bam, 26% Tyler Hero, 20% to Kevin Love. I'm not saying you know where the production is going to come from because it's basketball and weird shit happens, but you know where the opportunities are going to come from in this game. There's just no doubt about it. And these guys all are completely, you put it out, completely warrant these price. Like Bam has a 23% assist rate and Tyler Hero 22%. They're all plus, these guys are +1 fantasy point per minute guys, particularly the more expensive ones in Bam and Tyler Hero. How many minutes are you giving Kevin Love today is the question.
I gave him 18. We gave him 18, so I feel pretty good about that one.
The center eligibility is limiting.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks.
He's a really good value. He's a good value, but 32% for him, I expect that to come down a bit. And any value we get will push him out first.
What's that?
Any value we get throughout the day, like Kevin Love's the first type of guy to go away because he's center only.
Right. I was going to say, if he had power forward eligibility, I would for sure like him more than Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
For sure. But he doesn't. Because he can get hot from 3 and actually make some things happen.
Sure.
There's no way you're getting away from Miami today. There's no way you should try to get away from Miami today. No. I know it might not be
too much opportunity here.
Yeah. Okay. Is it the greatest matchup against Milwaukee? Well, I guess it depends on what type of defense we expect from the Milwaukee Bucks. But my guess is a lot of that is randomness, the struggles that they've had. Like they're still a good basketball team. They are playing their second of a back-to-back though, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. 8-point favorites even at home against the Heat. I just don't see any way you get away from it. Now, I want to ask you this before we move on to Milwaukee. If Duncan Robinson doesn't play, like you're just to be clear, you're already playing Bam, you're already playing Tyler Hero. You're already playing Jaquez. Like there's a lot of guys that you're already playing, Caleb Martin, and some of them would even look better. But what if he doesn't play? Does anybody else jump on as like, wow, now we have to play him too?
Yeah, I assume we start looking at flat min salary Jamal Cain. I think he would probably be working his way into enough minutes to matter. And then you have Alondas Williams, who's another one of their two-way guys. He's a guard, like a legitimate guard. So it's possible that he's going to play a little bit here. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he was the backup point guard and played whatever minutes Tyler Hero wasn't on the floor. But as you start losing more of these guys, especially Duncan Robinson, if you lose a guard, you can get him up to that. And he's flat 3K as well. Point guard, just point guard. If you can get him up to that 18, 20-minute range, then you start having another potential value play. But I think Jamal Cain would get the first crack at it, flat 3K small forward. You're probably looking at both of them at that point.
Yeah, Miami is, and if Duncan Robinson plays, you're playing Duncan Robinson. Do you have any issues playing just a lot of Miami in the same lineup today?
No, I'll probably have 3 of these dudes in just about everything I'm doing.
You would think so, right? Now, Milwaukee on the other side, Chris Middleton, I don't know if he's official. It's a second of a back-to-back, but Doc said he's out for the next couple games at least. That was the way. There's no way Chris Middleton's playing today. You know, barring anything,
I would be very surprised.
Yeah, barring anything crazy. But once again, Giannis pulling no ownership. He had a phenomenal game yesterday.
He sure did.
The issue here, though, is he is so much more expensive than anybody else on this slate. There's nobody within $1,400 of Giannis Antetokounmpo today. And yeah, he'll play the second of a back-to-back. He played only 30 minutes yesterday. They had a
Yeah.
pretty significant win over Denver. He had 36 and 18 with 5 stocks and 5 assists. Only 5% owned. Are you getting the Giannis or anything from Milwaukee against this Heat team?
He is in 50% of my lineups right now.
So then what do the rest of those lineups look like if he's in 50%?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying you're underweight on Isaac, you're underweight on Love, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be pulling value somewhere with a near 12K guy.
I mean, I still have 22% of Love. I have 24% of Cole Anthony, 18% of Isaac. There's three guys right there at 3,500.
I would imagine
68% Duncan Robinson at 4,200 certainly helps. Jaime Jaquez at 4,500. You don't have to go all the way to the bottom. There's enough in that 3-4 or in like 4K range.
That's true. Miami offers a couple 4K range guys as well.
And I don't even think that I have Giannis like so ridiculously projected. I'm a couple points ahead of us, obviously, but I have his points, rebounds, and assists at 50.1. It's 48.5 at Prize Picks right now. So like inside 1.5 in that range. Like I can't chalk that up to something that I need to make a change for or anything.
Jordan, can you do me a favor? Go to the Sims tool. Don't sort by any team. I just want to see our exposures on 150 star lineups right now.
I think he's easy to get to.
What's that?
I think he's really easy to get to.
I mean, yeah, you know, just walking through it now, I do too. I just want to see, I'm very curious to see what our exposures look like on the top end of the salary spectrum. So look, out of the gate, we're getting a ton of Miami. No surprise there. A lot of LeBron though, Josh.
He's my second most owned pay up. I have 16%.
Who else? Let's see if there's anybody else here that's expensive.
And I have 14% of AD. They're the three guys that I have in double digits north of 9,500. There's a line drawn in the sand between Tatum and Lillard. Tatum's 9,500, Lillard's 8,900. From that Tatum price up, the three guys that I have in double digits are Giannis, AD, and LeBron. Okay. It's almost like playing the Pistons is a good thing.
30% Cade we're getting to though.
Okay.
So, which I mean, I get that.
Same.
What's he priced at?
Cade is 7,800.
Wow. Okay.
No Boyan, no Alec Burks.
Yeah.
No Killian Hayes.
He's also not limited from a playing time perspective either.
Nope.
So I totally get that. And by the way, if you're wondering, The Sims, what this is doing is you'll see the contest generator on the left side generating these contests, and you can decide like what the field, how many go into the contest. If you're playing a small field, you could do 250, 500, 1,000, up to 5,000. You generate the contest, and then you sim that tens of thousands of times. The contest generator is trying to create a contest that is essentially mirroring what the contest you're entering is going to look like. It's trying to build, essentially what it's doing is building the lineups that we think are going to be in that contest and then simming them tens of thousands of times. And in doing so, once you do so, you're seeing what all of these, okay, so if you go, Jordan, to like top 10, see what the lineups there, that's after they've been simmed thousands of times, Josh. Then you're seeing how many times did this lineup win this contest? How many times did it finish top 10? This is how like professional players have been doing it forever. Now it's just available to anybody, which is not everybody was excited about that. And then you can go to player ROI and see what their individual ROI was in these contests, in these simulations. So it's, you know, there's probably not many people out there that are at the top of the DFS world that aren't using Sims in some form or fashion.
Correct. It's got to be, it's a minimal group of people at this point. Because they're great. They do the job better than anything else does. There's no other way to describe it.
You're not going to hand build lineups better. It's just not going to happen.
No.
It's made my life a lot easier. Plus we have the late swap tool tonight is going to be, look, I'm not saying you'll 100% need it, but you have 3 games that start at 10 p.m. or later. That is complicating matters for sure. When you have an 8 p.m. and then it goes straight to 10 p.m. with 3 games, 2 of which have 240 plus point totals in this spot, that is going to make the late swap tool allows you to seamlessly, effortlessly swap in 2 minutes. You get news, We run updates, you swap, it gives you all of the optimal swaps. It simulates these lineups all the way through again and gives you all of the optimal swaps. By the way, you guys want to try it, link in the description and in chat. You can do a week, a month, one sport. You just want to do NBA, or you want all of the sports, right? Like PGA, MMA, NASCAR, NBA, MLB's coming up. And if you were to go all access and you rock the stochastic avatar, you're getting a huge discount on that as well. Like every month, not the first month, every single month, you're getting a huge discount on that. So whatever your interest is, a week, a month, you just want to try it out, or you're saying, shit, man, I want to play all of these sports now that football's over. You can do that too, but we got a price range for everybody, or the lineup generator if you're looking for an entry-level tool. Can't beat it. And we'd love to have you come join the team. Hop in our Discord as well. Say what's up. And if you have any questions about this stuff, my DMs are open. Greg's always happy to answer questions. We got tutorials on everything, so you're not going in head first into the shallow end, snapping your neck on the steps. You know what I mean?
Ouch.
Anyway,
Sounds unappealing.
The tools have been awesome. And we have 5 screenshots just from yesterday of people hitting us up being like, yo, Sims are for real. I wasn't sure about it, but I tried it out for the week, and the Sims tool second day, gave me the cool thing is too, it's like might be in the mini max or the end one or the fadeaway or the 4-point play. People are running these in any type of format, no matter what the entry level is. And then they're moving up in stakes as a result. Coming
into, like when you get that ability to step up and get those much bigger first place payouts, that's where the real money ends up laying here.
Sacramento and Phoenix. The Kings are 5-point dogs, 245.5 point total. So with Sacramento today, massive, massive total in this game. Highest on the slate by 4.5 points. Malik Monk's pulling 25%. Sabonis at 22%. Keegan Murray, 19%. Fox, 13%. It is an interesting matchup on the road. There's no doubt about that. The problem is, and I know you mentioned it earlier, how much Sabonis can we realistically get to when there's all of these other high-priced options? The Phoenix Suns are essentially middle of the road in pace. Defensive rating, I have them 15th. They're middle of the road matchup here, but this has a really high total.
Yeah, this is a really weird one for me. So you see the big negative leverage on Malik Monk. We have him 15% optimal, 24% owned. I'm in full agreement here. And it's not like I don't have him projected well. I gave him 26 minutes. I got him at 28 fantasy points. I'm a fantasy point below us, but we have the negative leverage. I only got to 2% of Monk. If he's 24% owned, I won't be getting there at that rate. I don't expect him to be 24% owned. I think that falls to like that 18 range, and you end up getting a little bit more. Sabonis, similar story, 10K center only, 20% owned. We've got him with a little bit of negative leverage. Now, clearly, a more than reasonable play, but you've got AD sitting there at $100 more expensive, facing the Pistons, half as owned. You got Durant, $200 cheaper than Sabonis with a better positionality, half as owned. It's not that Sabonis doesn't look good. I just don't think that he looks better than other guys. Like, they all kind of look the same, and he's got a worse position, not a better one. So there's no problem rostering Sabonis. I just don't really understand why he's getting as much ownership as he is. It's not a projection thing for me either. 1.47 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days for Sabonis. I got him at 1.4 in this spot. You don't just immediately project everybody for their ceiling. The guys that I'm getting to, I have a little bit of Fox. I have neutral to the field on Keegan Murray, 5,100 power forward only, 18% optimal, 18% owned. I have 18%, so it's just spot on there. And I'm doubling up on the Barnacle of the Bay, 4,400, small forward, power forward. He is 6% owned. I have 12. We have him as the biggest positive leverage play on the Kings. I'm seeing Sacramento basically the same way that our leverage is seeing Sacramento. I'm lighter on Sabonis, I'm lighter on Malik Monk, and I'm getting to the other pieces in and around the field.
How did we come up with the name Barnacle of the Bay? I know it was clearly during the 2K Sims, right? I know it was during the
Sims. He hit the shot to win it for the Warriors.
Right. Against Boston, I think it was.
Sounds right.
I mean, Barnacle, sure. I guess it just...
He was on the Warriors, so they're in the Bay. It's just the alliteration worked. If you're asking like how it really started, I don't have a clue.
But you had that, right? Not Ben. That was you that came up with Barnacle.
I don't know.
Me
I'll
neither.
take the credit for it, but there's like I'm not confident that it was me. But I have not stopped saying it since we did it.
Me neither. By the way, another thing with this game, there is nobody that is on the injury report.
Nope.
I mean, you're talking about two clean bills of health on both sides. And then on the
Yep.
Phoenix side, you have Bradley Beal getting 12% right now, $7,300. Durant at 9, Booker at 5 or at 5. Yeah, obviously Durant and Booker are similarly priced. Bradley Beal's not particularly cheap. Nurkic is 7K himself. It is funny too when you're looking at this team. You have 5 of 7 starters that are $7,000 or more, which oftentimes makes this one of the more difficult teams to get to when everybody's healthy.
Yeah. It's like this is just they're like Boston. They're like there's a couple OKC to a degree where like these guys are relatively healthy for the entire season, and you just kind of get them doing the same shit over and over and
It's just
over
hard to do
again.
analysis on a team like this.
Very, very.
Because what's the analysis? Hey, there's some really good players on this team, but they're all pretty expensive, and it might be him today or it might be him.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm surprised they're getting as much love as they are, but I guess that's what happens when you have a 245 total and you're facing Phoenix. That like Sacramento's as popular as they are with what I would consider to be like correct pricing.
Jordan, what's our exposure to the Suns today? I mean, I would imagine it's pretty flat with just a few guys that are potentially pulling, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% ownership. That would be my guess. We've got it at, oh, okay. Even less, Josh. 2% Durant, 2% Nurkic, 1.3% Beal, 0.7% Booker.
Yeah. I basically don't have these guys either. 6% of Booker is the most I have of anybody. I've got 4% of Eubanks, Allen, and Durant. Now we have 13% ownership coming into Beal. He is also the most negatively leveraged person in our boom bust tool. Only 9% optimal. Again, I wouldn't mind having him at 7,300, but I don't think that he looks fantastic. Basically, have the exact same projection that we do. If I'm going to anybody here, I think Booker's probably the easiest guy to get to since he has the MPE, same price tag as Durant. And you want to get guys against Sacramento because they're not a very good defense. They certainly play fast enough. But while Sacramento seems to have like slightly better pricing, you don't have we're like $200 too expensive on everybody from Phoenix to get them to look like Sacramento. Certainly a game where if you're going to get a couple pieces of the Kings, you feel like you want to get something on the other side for Phoenix.
It also feels like you're kind of paying a ceiling price point on Beal. Not, in this offense, because he had what? One game, 2 games ago with no Devin Booker. And then he had a stretch there of just 3 really solid games. Prior to that, he was $6,500. And now and look, he's going to play a lot of minutes. That's one thing you can say about Beal. But he's
Yeah.
$800 more expensive than he was just 4 games ago because he had a trio of really big games.
Mm-hmm. I don't expect him to continue to maintain. Like, I think they all come down to be very similar. I don't think you're going to see this. This strikes me as a team that's going to be in like single digit ownership across the board by the time we get to lock.
Right. Like all of them, you mean? Because right now it's only
Yeah.
Beal that's up there.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Portland, 215 total. Yes, Minnesota has a solid defense. They're sizable road favorites. Malcolm Brogdon remains out for Portland. The Portland Trailblazers have an implied total of 102.5 today.
Not
102 and a
good.
half. Minnesota is at 111. Mind you, we have a bunch of teams north of 115. Lakers at 126, Suns at 125, Kings at 120, Celtics at 118. We can start this off on the Minnesota side of things because they are still big favorites and it's not exactly a bad matchup. Conley's 5,000, Rudy Gobert 7,200, Naz Reid 4,200. He'll benefit the most power forward center if one of those guys gets in foul trouble in the front court, and he should have some minutes regardless off of the bench. So I get it. Edwards 14%, Monty Morris 13%. None of these guys seem like staples of the slate unless you have one right now.
No.
They all just seem like, hey,
Mm-mm.
it's a pretty good spot. They're a pretty good team, and Portland's bad.
They're a weird team today. We've got the Mike Conley Memorial 20% ownership to start the day rate going in right now. Big negative leverage. Spoiler alert, he won't be 20% owned. That will come down. He's just like the first guy to always get ownership for this Minnesota team. I have 4%. I'll probably get a little bit more when he stops being 20% owned. Second most owned guy is Rudy Gobert. Now, we don't really have negative leverage on him. 19% optimal, 20% owned. I am still lighter on Gobert, although I would not have any issue getting to him. He's been playing like 35 minutes a night and should totally eat against Portland. The guy that I am getting to the most is Naz Reid, 4,200 power forward center. I only gave him 22 minutes. That's right where we are. I have basically the exact same projection. We have him 16% optimal, 15% owned. I have 20%. Everybody else from Minnesota for me is in single digits, including Monty Morris, who is 13% owned. I only have 6%. We have him with the biggest negative leverage number, but he is the flat 3K. It would not take much for him to grab a couple extra minutes, if they wanted to try to mute Conley, or God forbid, Mike Conley gets ruled out today, and then you're getting a 3K Monty Morris playing a couple extra minutes. Towns is uninteresting. Edwards is fine in that 10% range. You're not probably going to much else. Jaden McDaniels is fine at 4,100. Really bad per minute, dude. 6.66 fantasy points per minute over the past 30 days. There are little bits across the board for Minnesota that you can get to. I actually think Naz Reid is the best option.
John P took exception to my nicotine independently is not a harmful comment.
I don't think anybody's going to you for medical advice. Maybe we're going to take those with a slight grain of salt.
I hope they aren't.
Yeah.
I hope
Dr. Dave.
Although you agreed with me on it.
Well, what else am I going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how bad can it be, right?
Exactly. Everything's bad. There's no microplastics in nicotine.
Sure, you could find some stuff about caffeine as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys, don't do nicotine. All right. What else do we have here? Oh.
Don't play anybody from Portland. We could do that. Unless you want to take the over on DeAndre Ayton, who is my other play today. That line has already moved one full PRA since I took my video and posted it for Prize Picks.
God, this team looks so bad.
I only have 2 shares of Ayton and nothing else. There is nothing playable. The highest owned dude is Matisse Thybulle at 3%, if you want anything for reference here. I have nothing to add for Portland.
And then you have Detroit and the LA Lakers to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So
now we got to take a break. I'm diving in here now. It's time.
Why don't we end the show with it?
Okay, that's fine. We can end the show.
One game to go. And there's just
okay. I'll let it happen.
All right. I didn't forget about it. Don't worry. I didn't forget about it.
Oh, I won't let you forget about it.
Cade is 7,800 against the Lakers. You mentioned no Boyan. It's a pretty good spot. I mean, significant usage, 30+% assist rate. I like Cade Cunningham quite a bit today. I know they're big dogs. I know they're going up against the Lakers in LA. I think 7,800 is a more than reasonable price point on this guy.
So do I. I'm surprised I don't have a little bit more. We haven't, 20% owned, 20% optimal, basically. I only have 10%, but he looks like the best option that you can get to from the Pistons. I just appear to be saving a little bit of salary, grabbing the MPE, and going over on Jaden Ivey, who's basically the same play as Cade from a optimal rate ownership perspective. They're both right at 20% optimal, 20% owned. But I think the price, I need a little bit of extra salary if I'm getting to that much Giannis, and the positionality is opening me up there. So I'm almost 2x the field on Jaden Ivey, 38% of my lineups. I'm a little bit lighter on Cade. Do I love that? No, it's a little scary, but I understand why it's happening. And it's not like Jaden Ivey isn't out there playing, 34 minutes with Cade as well. And then I'm neutral to Duren, who's 17% owned. I have 18%. We have him a little bit of negative leverage, but not too much. After that, you can grab some shares of Asar Thompson. Troy Brown is sitting there at the flat 3K, is like a guy that works right now, but probably doesn't work all that well later today. But I think if you're looking at anything from Detroit, there are three dudes you should feel good about: Cade, Ivy, and Duren.
This game looks pretty good. I mean, on the other side though, where you've got the Lakers, you're looking at the front end of a back-to-back against Detroit. What do you think? And we don't know.
No.
What do you think the chances are one of LeBron and Anthony Davis doesn't play today?
I assume they play.
I do too.
I assume they both play. Like
I think,
in general, they usually do.
Yeah, I know. By
Like
the way,
they both just played a back-to-back on the 8th and 9th.
if you look at the reporting on these guys, it's so funny the way, because you know how they're questionable every game.
Yes.
It's not just like ankle soreness or, back soreness. It's LeBron is questionable to left ankle perioneal tendinopathy. Okay. And
Sure.
Anthony Davis is questionable with, and please excuse the pronunciation here, too much nicotine today. Davis is questionable due to bilateral Achilles tendinopathy and left hip spasm. So they're really going all out.
Oh yeah.
On these reports.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You don't see.
I hope they're both in though, because I think they both look good.
I think they do too. Look, they're going up against Detroit. They're huge favorites. They have one of the highest totals on the slate. LeBron's 9,600, small forward, power forward. Davis is center only, but 10-1. They look pretty good. The question for me is, what do you do with guys like D'Angelo Russell? And by the way, Spencer Dinwiddie expected to make his debut today as well, coming from the Nets at the trade deadline. They held on to D'Angelo. By the way, your tuning up the moving van tweet was very good. I got a good laugh out of that.
Thank you.
That was solid.
Thank you.
But yeah, like Rui, Russell, Reeves, these type of guys, because I think James and Davis objectively look very good in this matchup.
I think the four guys that are getting ownership, LeBron, and then you have AD, D'Angelo Russell, and Rui, all at 12.8% ownership, which is really weird to see. I think all four of those guys that are getting ownership are the guys that can get ownership and probably the only ones you really want to get. And I'm right around the field on all of them. 14% AD for me, 13% owned. He's a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy in this spot. I've got 22% of Russell. He's 13% owned. He's been 1.08 over the past 30 days. We've got 18% ownership to LeBron. I have 16, call it 1 3/4, but better positionality than AD. And then I'm getting to Rui. I have 24% of him. He's 4,700, but he's small forward, power forward. He's a 0.8 guy. It's not exciting to get to Rui, but we have him 13% optimal, 13% owned. Those four guys are the only guys I'm getting. And I think they're the only four guys that you should get. Maybe if you're playing 150 lineups, you can talk yourself into a couple shares of Austin Reeves, but that is it for the Lakers.
SMP said the Lakers aren't in a position to sit anyone either. They suck and need as many easy wins as they can. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. And
Very
then
true.
he put easy wins in quotes, but I know what you mean. 11-point favorites at home, play your guys, get the win. Yeah, for sure. It's a good point. Let's rank our positions. Then I will hear your hypothetical question and I will provide a response. Hopefully you guys stick around for this one. And by the way, if you're not on Sleeper yet, don't forget $500 first match deposit bonus. That's a huge one. That's, I think, the biggest one of any of these pick'em sites, right?
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, link in the description and in chat for that. Ultimately, take advantage of every deposit bonus you get for these DFS pick'em sites and take advantage of every single free square opportunity you get for them as well. It goes a very, very long way in not just building a bankroll out of the gate, which is exactly what you're doing with this deposit bonus, whether it's $50, $100, or $500, but also making sure that you're building plus EV lineups in these pick'em formats every single day you jump in, because every day an underdog or a prize picks or a sleeper or any of these other, they're going to have free squares. And it's just crazy to me to play on one day when they don't have a free square. Not to say that you can't play there, but it's crazy to not pounce on the free square opportunities each day as well, because you can't say
keeps your costs down.
Yeah, you can't say free money because it's never guaranteed to win. But if you just have one leg of this, one play of this lineup that is literally 100, 99.999999% win rate, you'd be crazy not to jump. So $500 first match deposit bonus matched up to $500, plus the free squares that they're throwing out every day, plus the cool dynamic pricing where you can actually put triple doubles, double doubles. Hell, you get to the baseball, you're talking home runs in there, where it's a multiplier format and you can up to 100 extra entries. Very cool what they're doing. Very slick app as well. So check it out. Link in the description and in chat if you're not on Sleeper yet. Let's do it. Point guard. I assume we'll have plenty Miami in here, but point guard position.
It's going to be Tyler Hero. For me, that's going to be Jalen Suggs. And I'll go Jaden Ivey as well. They are my three most exposed at the point guard spot.
Shooting guard.
At shooting guard, we have Duncan Robinson, obviously. We mentioned Hero on the previous position. We mentioned Suggs and Ivy. Only other option, I think, for me is going to be Mikal Bridges.
Small forward.
All right. Small forward. Duncan Robinson, obviously, again. Jaime Jaquez at 4,500. Franz Wagner is my other highest owned dude. They are to go along with Duncan Robinson.
Wagner does look very good today, for sure.
Sure does.
Power forward.
Power forward, again, Jaime Jaquez. We're going to say Giannis for me here. A very big stand on Giannis. And then Caleb Martin.
And center.
Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo, Naz Reid.
Arcadelza said I must have missed the Portland part. Nope. Well, you might have if you blinked.
Yeah.
Wasn't much to say there at all. All right. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Fire away, brother. Did we hit 100 likes yet? Just making
sure. I don't know, did we?
117. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Much love. Go ahead.
All right. It's the wee hours of Monday morning. The Chiefs have been out partying all night. It's 3:00. They're heading back to the hotel. Travis Kelce's got his arm around Taylor. They're getting back for the real main event, the Super Bang. And all of a sudden, Genie pops up in front of them. He says, "Hey,
how high were you when you thought of this?"
Not at all. Did this sitting at the bar last night, eating dinner.
Okay.
Genie's like, I know you guys are going in to Smush. A question for you guys. I want your sex tape. How much do you think Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift could sell the rights for their sex tape for?
Why would a Genie want the sex tape?
It doesn't matter who's there. But pick the dude that runs Girls Gone Wild. I don't give a shit. I can't name anybody in this industry.
Because a Genie grants wishes. He's not asking.
Not the point. Not the point.
It's just odd that you would think of a Genie.
Let's pause here. The first two answers are 10 million and 10 million. Not even in the ballpark. This film would be like the Avengers.
I would say 100 million minimum.
100 million was my snap answer and one of my friends' snap answers. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, that is not even close to the right answer. For Taylor, at least. Travis would take that bag.
Yeah.
Taylor's not taking it for a hundy spot. I think legitimately the answer would have to be 500.
500 mil?
Think about how much money they would make. Like, you would print with that one.
Where would you?
Would you what?
Would you print with that? Like,
I think so.
Like Swifties aren't paying a premium for a Taylor Swift Kelce sex tape.
If they knew she was okay with it?
I think many of them would be disgusted by it.
Depends how good he is.
And then I have no interest in seeing Kelce's hog.
Why not?
And I hate to say it, but but AI already did us favors when it came to old Swift.
Yes, I mean I have seen her already in a pile of trash with Oscar the Grouch, so I don't really know where we're gonna go from here.
So I don't. If it were me and I had the capital, I don't think I'd spend that type of money on a sec. I don't. There are too many quality deep fakes. There's too much free stuff out there to begin with. I don't think I'd be willing to make that investment.
Okay. I think 500 is what she would entertain. I think a true purchase price in that like 250 range is probably like the realistic range.
And by the way, I know you were asking how much could they make off of it, and I kind of flipped it on how much would you be willing to pay for it hypothetically.
Well, no, somebody's got to buy the rights, so I'm okay. That is the side of it that I wanted to go to.
No, right, a genie's buying the rights. So I, um, I think you're right that there is somebody out there that would pay that type of money. I would be unwilling to do so. I think I'd have two.
What if her music is the soundtrack? Can she get dueling rights for that as well?
She gets paid royalties on it.
Yeah.
If this were, here's the thing though, I think this would be worth exponentially more money if this situation were happening back during the Girls Gone Wild days, where you didn't just have like unlimited high-speed internet access to everything free, you know.
Yeah, the era is poor for this. This isn't going to be the folklore era, I don't think.
You know, sometimes I still drive and I'll see one of those brick and mortar video stores with like the windows tinted out, you know, and the parking in the back. And I think to myself, Justine and I were driving the other day and I was like, this place is still open? Said, yeah, it's still there. It's still there. Why? At that point, it's just got to be a kink. Like there's no real reason to do that outside of that's your thing.
Not a lot going on in those places usually.
Crazy.
So I think it's a big number.
I think, can I even talk about this on the show? It is the end of the show, so you guys are free to leave.
I mean, imagine if Netflix had it and they could just have it on there. That's the most watched thing on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, think about what they would be willing to pay for what they consider to be the most watched things on Netflix.
APK, I said 50% of dudes like porn. It would sell. Only 50%?
Yeah.
But I'm saying I don't know if it would.
Do you think Netflix would pay $250 million for the rights to that video?
No.
You're out of your mind. If they have their, like, assuming obviously like they're able to, like the legalities of all of this are there. I have no doubt in my mind that Netflix would pay $250 million for those rights.
I would say more than anything else, though, it depends on the subject matter.
What do you like how good it is?
It depends what's happening.
You know, like nothing truly crazy, just, you know, like a good athletic lovemaking session.
If it's 30 minutes of missionary, that
doesn't strike me as what's going to be happening here. just that's not the vibe I'm picking up out of Trav.
All I'm saying is I think it could be difficult to market.
I think it markets itself pretty easily.
Would you buy it?
If I were Netflix and I knew that I could air it?
No, would you buy a copy?
Well, I mean, if we're assuming that the real answer is like you either have to buy it or you can't pirate it, yeah, 100%.
But that's the point. You know that'll be pirated instantly.
It's so easy to get content now that like the pirating of already made stuff feels like way more of a niche than it was 15 years ago.
Power said the amount of sponsors they lose would be 500 million in the billions in perpetuity. Her touring, his future deals, 2 billion even. Yeah, no, look, I'm
No,
100% with power.
no, I
There's
completely disagree.
so much red tape here that I would not go near it.
No.
How about this? Well, S&P member for 12 months using this is what a smart way to use a super chat because this is a great question. What would he said? The real question: what do they name the tape?
1969.
That's a great question. What would you name the tape? I mean, the word Swift can be used so, I mean, so easily with anything.
Yeah. There's something there. There's a pun there that I'm not going to be able to figure out.
I mean, if he was a running back, you'd just call it Swift penetration part one.
I don't know if you want penetration in the title. I think you need like I think you need a good pun.
Zach Justice
Um,
said the fifth quarter. I don't hate that.
that's not bad.
Bilbo said Netflix
That's
paid 500 million for Seinfeld. Yeah, that's Seinfeld.
that's a lot more content though.
We got to go,
You know,
man.
we're
We got to get out of here. My answer is I don't think I would make an offer.
oh, you're crazy. You're crazy.
You guys have a great rest of the day. Deeper dive live before lock coming up later this afternoon. Appreciate you hanging out as always. It's been fun. We waited till the end. That's fair. I'm so glad I did not allow you to ask this question at the beginning of the show. You were going to
Why?
ask this at the onset of the show today.
Well, yeah, I don't want people to skip it. I didn't
Nobody
want,
did. We
you
still
know,
got
like
500
podcast
plus.
listeners might not get to this point.
All right, guys, we'll see you back here. Josh at Josh Engleman for more hypothetical genie propositions. Me at Lavi_D, LOUGHY_D. Appreciate you hanging out as always. Thank you, Jordan. We'll see you back here for the next one. Jake DeWitt, 15-inch penalty. Later.